my notes, check. Sunglasses, check. Hat, check. Thick skin, check. Definitely. I'm talking about Notre Dame today. Let's go. Golden Blue Dude back with another video just for the college football fan. So hit that like and subscribe button if you are a college football fan. And go check out our Patreon page when you get a chance. A lot of perks over there. And don't forget our score prediction contest will start back up again in September. Every week we award $20 to whoever gets the closest to the exact score prediction of the game that I pick. The higher the Patreon, the more guesses you get. And you can win as many times as you want. Also, $5 and up Patreons get to pick the live stream that we're going to do. And you get to watch the game with me. And we have a great website designed and created by Joey Foster. Yep, it's time to talk about Notre Dame. How will they do under new leadership this year? Notre Dame's head coach, Brian Kelly, he left. He's went to the SEC, greener pastures at LSU. We'll see how he does over there. But for Notre Dame fans, it's all about Marcus Freeman, the defensive coordinator promoted to head coach. And Notre Dame had some pretty good defenses under Marcus Freeman. I don't think he's going to be a bust of a hire, but I think in his first year, there will be an adjustment period, especially with what they lost on offense. Now, of course, Notre Dame recruiting at a high level, the number 7 recruiting class in 2022. But the transfer portal, they did not do very well at all. Number 73. Compare that to my team, West Virginia, at number 33. And that's with JT Daniels. That's not good, Notre Dame. So what do they have to work with this year? Well, they do have some talented quarterbacks, but they're inexperienced. And a lot of people think it'll come down to 2 names, and that's Tyler Buchner and Drew Pine. First up, Tyler Buchner. Last year, 21 for 35, 60%, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. Dual threat quarterback, better with his legs. 46 carries for 336 yards, 7.3 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. So he is much better with his legs. The other quarterback that's in this battle, Drew Pine, 15 for 30 last year. That's 50%, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Buchner is favored to win this competition, but his arm has to improve. He's fine with his legs. He can make plays. Busted plays pretty much don't exist with this guy, but he's got to learn to use his arm better. Now, the targets for whoever wins the quarterback position. Well, first of all, Kevin Austin Jr., the wide receiver, he's gone. That's going to hurt. And running back Kyren Williams. That's definitely going to hurt. But who he will have is wide receiver Lorenzo Styles. Last year, 24 receptions, 344 yards, and 1 touchdown. He'll also have wide receiver Deion Colsey. 4 receptions for 67 yards. And then the new face, but could be a big-time playmaker, Jaden Thompson. 4-star physical, high-pointing wide receiver. Could end up being the go-to receiver this year. That's how good he is. What about running backs? Big-time running back battle going on in South Bend, Indiana. First up, running back Chris Tyree. Last year, 56 carries for 222 yards. That's just 4 yards a carry. That's not good. 1 touchdown. The good news is we saw his potential in 2020. He had a much better year in 2020. If he can go back to that Chris Tyree, he might give Notre Dame a pretty good run game. But also in the running back Logan Diggs, 52 carries for 233 yards. That's 4.4 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns. And don't forget about running back Audric Estime, 7 carries, 60 yards, 8.6 yards a carry. So just a small sample size of Audric Estime, but in that small sample size, he made it count. Maybe he'll be the number 1 running back this year for Notre Dame. They need somebody to have a breakout year this year, because I do think that their offense will be the weakness of this team. I think this defense is going to be fine. The secondary does need to improve. That would be the weakness of the defense from last year. But overall, most of this defense is back. Marcus Freeman was the defensive coordinator, now the head coach. So the defense is going to be fine. No worries. And Marcus Freeman has fielded some pretty good defenses. I think that stays the same. It's the offense that I really worry about, and the cohesion of a new coaching staff. See, here's the thing. Marcus Freeman thought that most of the coaching staff was staying. Complete opposite. Most of the coaching staff left. Now, he got some good names to replace those guys, but chemistry and cohesion is a big deal when it comes to the coaching staff. Can they all be on the same page in year 1 under a new head coach? That's a tall order, especially with a lot of question marks on offense. Defense going to be fine. Big time questions on offense. That coaching staff better make sure they're on the same page. The offense needs that. So now moving on to their actual schedule, Notre Dame's schedule. So here's how I like to break down the schedule for the teams that I'll do a preview on. I give you the for sure wins, the for sure losses, and then the 50-50 games and what direction I'm going to lean in those 50-50 games. So here we go. The first game on the road to Ohio State. Sorry, Notre Dame fans, that is a for sure loss. I expect Ohio State to be a playoff team. This is on the road. I know last year Oregon went in there and upset Ohio State, but Ohio State was struggling, especially on the defensive side of the ball. This year, I think their defense will be much better. I think that's a for sure loss for Notre Dame. I think they lose by 10 to maybe 14 points. I don't think they get blown out, although you're really not going to like me for this one. It wouldn't totally surprise me if Notre Dame got blown out in this game, but I think they'll keep it close and lose by 10 to 14 points. Next game, Marshall at home. That is a for sure win, and I say that with a smile on my face. I hope y'all beat Marshall by 3 touchdowns or more. Next game, Cal at home. I think that's a for sure win. Cal is a wild card over in the Pac-12. They do have some talent over there, and they beat some teams that they were not supposed to beat last year. Notre Dame better play their A game. Cal is most definitely capable of upsetting Notre Dame, but I have this as a for sure win. Next game, at North Carolina. That's a 50-50 football game, and I know Notre Dame really hasn't had any issues with North Carolina, but this is a different Notre Dame and a different North Carolina. It's on the road. I'm actually leaning towards a loss right here. It's going to be a close game, though. If it were at home, I would lean towards Notre Dame, but this is on the road. Sorry, Irish fans. I'm leaning towards a loss for you. Good news is you do get a bye week after that. But after the bye week, you get BYU in Las Vegas. It's not a home game, but it's also not a road game. But it might as well be, because that's a long trip for you and a short trip for BYU fans. 50-50 football game. I think BYU is capable of being a 10-win team again this year. Leaning towards a loss for Notre Dame. I made sure I had my thick skin because I know you're going to come at me for this one. Next game, Stanford at home. I think that's a for sure win. I know Stanford can give teams some issues, but this is the time of the year where Stanford has already peaked and you're going to beat Stanford. After that game, UNLV at home. For sure win. Nothing else to talk about. After that, a road trip to Syracuse. Beware of this road trip. I have it as a 50-50 football game. Leaning towards Notre Dame. Don't worry, I'm not giving you a loss. I'm leaning towards Notre Dame. But I'm telling you, you could be one of the best teams in the nation, and Syracuse could be one of the worst teams in the nation, and they could still beat you in the Dome. I know that for sure. West Virginia had some great teams. We'd go into the Dome and get beat by a bad Syracuse. And ask Clemson, you better show up for that game or Syracuse will beat you. After that, you come back home to Clemson. 50-50 football game, but yeah, I'm leaning towards Clemson. I'm sorry, Notre Dame fans. I just don't have faith in your offense. And I think Clemson will be a much better team this year. I think Clemson scores 35, maybe 40 points a game this year. Total opposite of what it was last year. I think they come into the South Bend and beat Notre Dame. But it's still 50-50, so I still have you in this game with the chance to win it. After that, Navy and Baltimore. I have that as a for sure win for Notre Dame. And then Boston College at home. For sure win. And finally, a road trip to USC. A much better USC this year. It's on the road. I will say 50-50, but I am leaning in the direction of USC. This is why I make sure I have thick skin. I know Notre Dame fans are coming at me for this one. Now, having said that, I do think Notre Dame has a ceiling of having a 10-2 season. They only have one for sure loss, and most definitely they'll lose another game somewhere, even if it's a 50-50 football game. But their basement, 7-5. That's your basement. It is possible. What's my prediction? I think Notre Dame will go 8-4. I know. I'm leaning towards a loss in 4 games and one for sure loss at Ohio State. The math doesn't add up. That would be 5 losses. Well, I think Notre Dame wins one of those games that I'm leaning towards a loss. So I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's on the road to North Carolina. Maybe it's against BYU in Las Vegas. Maybe it's against Clemson at home. Or maybe it's on the road to USC. One of those games, I think you'll squeak out a win, even though I'm leaning towards a loss. So I have Notre Dame going 8-4 in 2022. decent bowl, and then the next year, I think Notre Dame will be much better. I think your offense will be much better. You'll 100% know who your quarterback is, and your running game will be in a much better situation. So y'all let me know in the comments section, and I already know, Notre Dame fans, you highly disagree. Let me know where and how you disagree with me on. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.